Hello everybody. Today I want to talk about my newest short film, Driftwood or The Seashell. If you have not seen it, obviously go check it out. I'm assuming you're smart, you can find it, all the links. We're going to be talking about not only the short film, but just kind of filmmaking in general, some things that I learned making the movie. So yeah, if you haven't seen Driftwood, go check it out, or just stick around. Because yeah. Yep. This movie started, I wanted to make something on the beach because I had been, me and my now fiance, I got engaged while I was on the same trip, so it was kind of a fun, beautiful kind of vacation. We made a movie, got engaged, it was great. We were watching Lost. We started watching Lost, the television series, and it's a really good show so far. We're one season in. And so we were watching Lost, and I had been wanting to make something, and I think the beach thing came from watching that show, and the kind of mysterious elements, the fantastical elements of the show, I think definitely inspired the short. I made my last short film, What It's Good For, with my friend Kyle a few months ago. And that was a fun kind of experimental thing. We shot that all in one night. Instead of going the What It's Good For route where it was all improvised, I wanted to actually write something and shoot it all in a day. I also think I put a lot of pressure on myself with the short. I wanted to kind of prove to myself that I could, get out of my comfort zone, be out of my element, and make something. Because I had been kind of in a creative rut a little bit, and I wanted to, making What It's Good For was very good for my confidence as far as just like setting a camera up and making something, that I felt was good. And I proved to myself that I could do that. But I wanted to, with Driftwood or The Seashell, I wanted to do the same thing, but I needed to get out of my house. I couldn't just film something again in my house. I wanted to, again, get out of my comfort zone, be in public, embrace the embarrassing aspects of just like filming yourself around people. Just embrace it, And I hadn't written something and filmed something in a long time. I just kind of been in a creative rut because, and also like before these two shorts, we had been making the film Not So Amazing for such a long period of time. So it's kind of me getting my feet wet again. And I guess pun intended, fuck it, we'll just go with the pun. So yeah, there was a lot of pressure I put on myself with the short, probably an unhealthy amount of pressure. I don't recommend doing that. I think in hindsight, it's nice to say, oh yeah, I'm glad that I put that pressure on myself because I probably wouldn't have followed through. But in the moment, I probably put too much emphasis on the importance of this specific short. Like, oh, if I don't film this short, then I'm not a real filmmaker. That's not good. But then like putting the pressure on yourself and following through, you end up being proud. So it's like it's about the balance. There was a point while filming that I actually didn't think it was gonna get done, and I was just on the cusp of giving up, and I was really hard on myself, and I was kind of unnecessarily pessimistic about my filmmaking career, or whatever you want to call it. Can you take this? Make sure that I say sadness in the right now, happiness in the back then, because I'm fucking that up. Pros and cons of pressure, I suppose. I recommend putting a little pressure on yourself. I recommend pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, but don't put all of your eggs in one basket. If one thing doesn't work out, it doesn't mean your entire filmmaking career or you as a filmmaker, it doesn't mean you're done, So yeah, obviously then came the point, it was about a week before we went on vacation. We were going to Seaside, Oregon, and I had decided that I wanted to make something on the beach, probably because of, like I said, watching Lost and everything. And a lot of my scripts at the time, because I was definitely in a place where I was writing a lot, but I wasn't shooting anything. And I think there was some insecurity there where I was writing, and then I didn't film anything. So I had like 5 scripts, 5 short films just like ready to go. And a lot of them, were kind of ones that I was just kind of holding on to, waiting for the right time, and I'm still in that kind of phase. But there was one specific short that I really wanted to make. It was going to be the next project that I was going to do, but I couldn't find anybody to be in the movie. So, and this was a short film called How Are You Doing? It's about a 8-page script called How Are You Doing? And it was Literally just this script was a way for me to just puke my emotions onto a piece of paper. It was kind of a mechanism for me to just like essentially have a therapeutic writing session. The movie is literally a therapy session, and it was kind of my way of cheating out, not going to actual therapy, but just writing what a therapy session in my mind would look like if I were to go, So that's kind of what How Are You Doing is, and it's just one long monologue. Who knows? Maybe I'll make this at some point. I don't know. So then came Driftwood Or The Seashell. I had about a week before we were going on vacation, and I decided, like I said, I wanted to write something. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just wanted to do something on the beach. So most of the scripts that I've been writing along with How Are You Doing were also mechanisms of just like ways for me to puke my thoughts and emotions onto a piece of paper. Driftwood Or The Seashell ended up being that as well. And then I kind of introduced this idea with the tape recorder where it justified that writing technique. Not only is it me puking thoughts onto a page, but it's literally a guy puking thoughts into a tape recorder. And so where How Are You Doing, that script comes into play, the one that I was talking about, is I ended up actually taking some lines of dialogue from that previous script and putting them into Driftwood Or The Seashell to kind of help have a theme, I suppose. So it was nice to be able to salvage, in my opinion, some of the best elements of that previous script that I wasn't able to film and use them for a new project, which is exciting to do because I was a little sad that I didn't get to make that short. So I wrote my script in like literally a day. It was only like, I think it was only like 5 pages actually. Let me look here. I think it was 4 pages, not even 5 pages. 4 pages long. It was called Sounds in a Seashell, actually. So there's something interesting. Sounds in a Seashell. I love when my scripts get all dirty because it's like, we film with them and it's like, oh man, all the battle scars. It's kind of cool. I wrote this without talking to Sydney, my fiance, about it before we went because I was a little worried that she would be upset that I was gonna spend time filming a movie on our relaxing vacation. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna see how many shots this is gonna end up being. I numbered all the shots. I think I counted it to up to like 15 or something, 15 shots, and then so I was like, okay, I can do that. 15 shots, I can film that in a few hours, I think. I think I can do that. It won't take it won't take too big of a chunk out of our relaxing vacation, hopefully. And then I brought it to Sydney and I was like, hey, I have this like script. I think I can do it in this amount of time, blah, blah, blah. And she was actually okay with it. She didn't mind. She was kind of excited. So that was good. And yeah, and then obviously with every movie, the amount of time you think it's going to take, just triple or quadruple it essentially. And then because I introduced the tape recorder thing into the script, I was like, oh shit, now I gotta buy a prop. And I had literally never bought a prop for a movie ever. Not me specifically. I think with Not So Amazing, Caleb bought some props for the film. But with me, with my movies with Vine Avenue and Waffles, I've never been very prop oriented. I think Seventh is the movie we shot with the most props. There were lots of props for that. But I've never been one to write props into my movies. I don't know why. Maybe it's probably because I haven't really made very many high concept films. A lot of my ideas are just kind of like stupid as hell and I just do something with them. I think this is the first time I made something a little bit more high concept and it actually had a prop that the story kind of relied on. It's like it's the most important element to the plot, I would say. So I had to buy a tape recorder. I ended up realizing that tape recorders, the micro cassette recorders, are very expensive. So I was like, oh shit, now what? And then I went on eBay and I was like, wait a second, this thing doesn't actually have to work. Because I think originally I was gonna just film it or record the audio through here, but I was like, I could just do it, like I could do the audio in post. I could make it sound like it's coming out of here, but really I'll be mic'd up and I'll just make it sound like it's coming through the recorder. So the recorder technically doesn't have to work. So instead I just looked up microcassettes that don't work on eBay. And yeah, there were lots of those, believe it or not, that people I think maybe scrap for parts or just want for who knows why. They were significantly cheaper if they didn't work. I think I got this one for like $15 versus like some of the ones I was looking at that worked were like 300 fucking bucks. And then of course, I found one that was actually, so it's somewhere over here. I ended up actually finding one that worked at the thrift store next to my house that I looked at before we left, and I couldn't find one. And then of course when we got back, I was there and I found one, and it was like $10 and it works. So now I might just sell that baby on eBay for a bunch of money. But anyway, so yeah, this thing doesn't work. I got it wet and everything, so it was already broken. And I just recorded the audio through my mic afterwards and did a bunch of filters and stuff. It was actually really easy. I thought it was going to be harder. So yeah, that was my first experience buying a prop. And then came down to the actual making of the movie. We left on the 28th of July. Which is me and Sid's 5th year anniversary, and my plan was to propose that night, and then either the morning after or the morning after that, go down to the beach and film this thing in the morning. So we got to Seaside, had a nice night. Because I was antsy and nervous. I was nervous because I was putting too much pressure on myself to make this movie, so I was nervous that it wasn't going to work out. So the next morning I ended up getting up really early at like 5 in the morning. And Sid wanted to come with me, so she got up too. Went down to the beach with all my shit ready to go, and it's so foggy. It is like, I didn't even think about that. The amount of fog that's there on a beach. You couldn't see the sun. The sun had risen and you couldn't even tell. It was so fucking foggy. It was so cold. We were out there for like 20 minutes. I was starting to get my stuff set up. I was like, this is not what I expected. I don't like that it's so dark. It was really dark. It was really depressing looking. And it almost looked like it was in the middle of a storm or something. So I was like, okay, and I started getting my stuff together. 15 minutes passes, I'm micing myself up or something. And I grab my camera and I realize, oh shit, my camera is like soaked, because there's so much fucking moisture in the air. I didn't even think about it because I'm not a scientist. I don't know how that works. So I was just, I almost felt like I was about to have a mental breakdown, but I was just like, okay, well, we're obviously not gonna be able to do this right now because it's too foggy. So we just stopped, we got all my stuff, walk of shame back to the hotel, super sad. We ended up just going to get coffee at like 6 in the morning and just kind of hanging out. Enjoying our vacation like we should be doing, not out on the beach at 5 in the morning trying to film a movie. So yes, then we were just relaxing, drinking some coffee, hanging out, and I'm sitting there all like, I can't, I suck, my whole life's ruined. And then we decided to go see Old, the new Shyamalan movie. That was our plan because we wanted to watch a beach movie at the beach. Just think that's kind of cool. So we went and saw Old, and we're watching Old. And, you know, it's not my favorite movie. I enjoyed it. But I'm watching Old and I'm just like, if they can do this, I can just go out and film a fucking 5-minute movie about a dude talking into a tape recorder. It's like the easiest concept ever. I wrote it specifically so that it was easy, so that it was not overly complicated, overly difficult, right? So I was like, I can do this. I can do it. You know, at that point the sun had gone up. I think the movie ended at like 3 or something. We went back to the hotel. I was like, okay, let's just give it another shot. We grabbed all of our shit. We went to the beach again, hung out. Sid's just sunbathing, and I'm like getting all my stuff together. There's a lot of people around, so I'm feeling kind of nervous because I'm just socially awkward. I don't know. I'll tell you, it's really uncomfortable the second you start filming in front of people, but you reach this point really quickly. Even if you're a socially awkward person like me, I learned this making Not So Amazing. After a couple minutes of it, your mind just shuts down. You're not seeing anything. Tunnel vision, if there ever was. So just jump into the pool and jump into the deep end, face first, and before you know it, you'll be comfortable. Because it's really awkward for the first couple tries, you know, when you're the first couple takes, the first couple times you're filming stuff, and then after like 5 minutes of doing it, you're in your own world and nothing else matters. Anyway, so we're filming on the beach. I learned very quickly that filming on the beach is not amazing because all the sand in every crevice of every part of your body and equipment. I'm filming that first day, like I said. I think we were there for like 3 hours. I didn't get a whole lot done. I think I got a couple shots. I think that first day is when I did the telescope looking shots that I wasn't even sure if I was gonna use. I wasn't scripted or anything. I had binoculars, and that I just brought with me just because I thought it would be cool to use binoculars on the beach. And I was just like, oh, I'll just fucking put it up to the camera and see what happens. And it ended up looking really cool. It's actually some of my favorite shots in the movie. So, and I wasn't even sure if I was gonna use it. There wasn't any plan. I just put them up to the camera and was moving them around to see what happened. And so that was cool. That was one great thing that came out of that first day. And I think I just got some pickup shots of the ocean and some of that stuff. I didn't get much of the dialogue though. I think I tried to film one portion of the dialogue, the one where I'm facing the ocean. It's like the last bit of dialogue, and I didn't end up using that. Ooh, I'm getting really nervous that's gonna fall over. So I probably got like maybe 25% of the movie shot in that first day, that first few hours. And then we went back to the hotel, and I was like a little down on myself, but I was feeling a little bit better about it. And then my plan was the next day to go back around the same time. I think at that point I was like, okay, well, I'm not gonna shoot this in the morning, even though the plan was to shoot it either at sunrise or sunset. It's probably not gonna happen because of the fog. Same thing the next morning. I didn't even try to go out there because it was so foggy, and it almost like clockwork, like the exact same time all the fog kind of just barely lifted enough for me to go film. It was around like 3 o'clock. So we just kind of did our stuff that morning, and of course I wasn't present, and I just stressed out about it the whole fucking morning because that's just what I do. And then at 3 o'clock we went out there again, and I think for about 3 or 4 hours I ended up filming that night, or that afternoon, that evening, and that's when I got the whole movie done. Test, test, test. This is really pretty outside. Test, test, test. Test. Testing, testing, testing. And that was the good day. That was the good day. That was the day I filmed a lot of my dialogue, and there was those moments of just like shutting out everybody around you. And we did have some audio issues. Other than that, it was pretty smooth though. We had some fun. It was pretty smooth. We were getting bit by sand fleas really bad when we were by the shore. That was problematic. That sucked. That wasn't great. Sand fleas are a bitch, I'll tell you that. Oh damn, they're biting. Okay, let's get out of here. Okay. It hurts too much.
Are you okay?
No, they're biting the shit out of me.
I could feel it and I didn't know what it was. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. They got me back.
Did it make you bleed?
But overall, the mood was better that day from both Sid and I think. When things go well, they go well, you know? And when things go bad, they go bad. That's kind of movies. There's really good days and really bad days. I still say we shot this in a day because it was only like 6 hours, but it was really like over the course of a couple days. And we had one great day and one not so great day, but that's all you need. You just need one good day on a movie set when you're filming a specific movie to look back on it fondly. So we had our good day, and Sid helped me a lot. She wasn't credited as producer for no reason, because she monitored the audio. She helped me with the script a lot, because she's like my dedicated script supervisor, because she's very meticulous about making sure I don't miss a line or something like that, or just say something that doesn't make any sense. So she's really good at that. Get yourself a girlfriend or a fiance or a wife or a boyfriend or whatever that is meticulous and can help you supervise your script. That's the one thing I can say that's very helpful. She's a great producer. And so that was basically the filming of the movie, you know? I mean, it's kind of funny because the movie is about enjoying the moment, and I look back on making Driftwood Or The Seashell, and I wish I could have enjoyed the moment more. I'm not very good about taking my own advice. I'm very good at dishing out the advice, but when it comes to actually taking, living up to that advice, not the best at it. I wish, I wouldn't have been so stressed out. Again, I wish I wouldn't have put so much pressure on myself, but I enjoyed making the movie despite the hardships, despite the stress, I would say. I enjoyed it. It's probably one of my favorite experiences making a movie. Maybe even my favorite because of the vacation itself. I was taking a memory, a vacation, a trip that was obviously going to be memorable and kind of beautiful, and adding this extra layer that I think ended up making it even more beautiful and even more memorable, even though it added a little bit of stress to the trip. It still added to, you know, how memorable the trip will be. I will never forget that trip. And then came down to editing the movie when we got back. It took me almost a month exactly when it comes to, like, from writing to release, basically. So I think editing probably took me the most time, obviously, probably like 3 weeks, which in hindsight feels weird because it felt like way longer. When I'm editing, I neglect self-care like crazy. I was incredibly sleep deprived making this one. Because my goal was to release it the last day of summer, August 31st. I ended up releasing it on Patreon September 1st, and releasing it on YouTube September 7th. So it didn't quite make my deadline. I'm very extensive with my editing, you know? I've realized that. I've realized when I'm editing a movie, it's like a whole new draft of the movie. It changes quite a bit. I think the edit really, I wouldn't say saved this movie, because I think it was good regardless, but it really, I think the editing, the extensive editing that I did added such an extra layer. Because, I mean, I think I'm the best at writing, I would say. I think writing is probably my strongest suit. I think that's what a lot of people would say or have said about me, is writing has always been my strongest quality, but now I would say it's actually editing. And I would say, because as somebody who thinks they're a good writer, not to sound like pretentious, I think I'm a pretty good writer. But I don't rely on my writing like somebody who would assume they're a good writer would, I would say. I think I'm a good writer, but when I'm editing, it's like a completely new version of me. It's almost like I look at what I've written, I look at the script like it's inferior, like I can do better. So I think that's important to do. No matter how strong your script is, or even serviceable, you can always improve it in the edit, I think. I think shooting is important, but I honestly think you can edit great movies even if what you shot isn't the strongest. I think editing is so important, and I've realized that. I think editing and writing are incredibly important. I would like to improve the middle aspect, the production aspect of making movies, because I think filming the movies is my least favorite part. I love editing and I love writing, because that's where I'm really able to like shape what the movie is. But yeah, I guess the lesson learned there is, like, even if what you've written is strong and you're comfortable with it, you can always improve it. I learned that with Waffles, and I learned that with Driftwood or The Seashell, because both scripts I love and are very strong, but the script versus the final film it's different. I think it's improved quite a bit through the edit. I would say the most difficult element was the color grade and the overall style and look of the movie. I wanted it to be very dreamy, and I wanted to really emphasize that feeling of a dreamlike kind of beautiful fantasy, fantastical type feeling, and that vibe. So one way I achieved that is by I created some kind of a pro mist filter effect in post-production. I didn't have a pro mist filter at the time of recording it, and I think what pro mist filters kind of do something with like lights, and it kind of adds this glow effect, and I thought that would be kind of interesting. Unfortunately, I didn't think about it until the edit, but I realized you can kind of imitate this kind of effect in post-production. So I realized I had to do that, and I came across some videos where you just essentially lay over the two shots, and then you add a luma effect to the top shot, and you subtract it. It's weird. It's hard to explain. I don't know what I'm talking about. But I knew visually what I wanted. It's just how to achieve that, and I found some. It's just a pro mist filter effect in post-production in Premiere Pro. I sound like an idiot, but I achieved it in the end. I think it looks kind of cool. I think it brought the film over the finish line, so to speak. It added enough to. I was satisfied with the overall look of the movie once I did it. So, and I think it adds. It's a subtle effect too that I think most people won't even notice, but subconsciously it adds to the fantastical, dreamy elements of the movie. So One thing I did that was a first for me with Driftwood Or The Seashell is I used a website called Artlist. This is not sponsored at all, but Artlist is a website that you can pay a yearly fee to obtain an enormous list of copyright-free, royalty-free music. And I think it was, I can't remember how much it was. It might have been like $200 for a year. I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was $200 for a year. I signed up for that to just have, now I just have this vast amount of royalty-free music at my disposal. And music is very important for me with movies. It's one of the most important aspects for me. So discovering Artlist was great because I want to own the rights to my movies, and it's kind of like, and I don't have a problem with royalty-free music. I feel like I'm pretty good at finding things. I would definitely recommend Artlist if you want to like own the rights to your music, own the rights to your movies, your films. So check that out for sure, because it's been a very, very useful tool for me, and I'm excited going forward because I have so many projects that I want to do. You know, so if I want to put it on Amazon Prime or sell DVDs or something, I have free reign to do that. You know, so and it's not something I can say about my previous work. What it's good for, and Driftwood Or The Seashell, I could put on, you know, streaming services. I could submit to film festivals. I could make physical copies of. So now the only thing keeping me from doing that is laziness. So I think that's pretty much the extent of the movie. I love this movie, and I hope you guys liked it too. I think it's when people say it's my best work, it doesn't bother me. Like there's been a couple people that said our last movie, What It's Good For, was the best thing we made, and you know I was like you know, I mean, we made it at night. I edited it. There wasn't much editing. It was all one shot. It was all improvised. There was no writing, so it was kind of like, okay. But Driftwood, like when people say this is my best work, I'm like happy with that. I am confident in saying that I think that's accurate. I think Driftwood Or The Seashell and Waffles are definitely my favorite pieces of work so far. I think I'm finally hit this point where I can say I look at Waffles and I know I can do better. Because I think it was one of those things where I made something that I loved so much and I didn't feel like I could do anything else for a while. It was kind of like all I had to show was like, oh yeah, look at my movie Waffles, and now I feel like I can do better. Now I'll show people Driftwood Or The Seashell because I know, and it's cool too because now that I've made Driftwood, I feel like I already feel like I can do better than that, and that's a good feeling. I think it's slightly sad when you release a movie and you're like, oh, I can already do better. But it's also like after a week, it's exciting. It's exciting to feel that way because with Waffles, it took me like 2 years to feel that way with Waffles, and that sucks. That sucks to feel that way. It's good to love your movies, but sorry, my dogs are like fist fighting below me. It's good to love your movies, but you know, at a certain point, you gotta let it go and you gotta go forward. And then, yeah, I guess the only thing else to say would just be like what the movie means to me overall. I think it's, like I said, it represents my engagement, and that's kind of a beautiful thing. It's a very meditative movie, and it allowed me to just kind of puke my emotions and my thoughts onto a page, and that's a beautiful thing. I think that's beautiful. We all need that. We all need to be able to do that at least one time. You know, I mean, that's what movies are, but literally just being able to puke thoughts onto a page. It was something I needed to do. I needed to get that movie out of my system. I kind of feel like I have, so that's good. I think the meaning of the movie in my mind is probably, you know, and there's lots of things you can take away from it. This isn't verbatim at all. I think that even if somebody takes away something completely different, that's great. I think that's cool. I don't want to be the person that says this is what my movie is about. But I think when I think about the movie, it's about just kind of enjoying the moment. I definitely think I have this quality where I take for granted the present, but I glorify the past. And I think it's really about the balance, because I tend to do this. I tend to be kind of down on how life is, and then I will be all nostalgic about how life was. And then it's about also identifying when you're in a good position or in a bad position, and really about how impossible that is. I think another thing, a more personal idea, and I think this is something that kind of pairs it with Waffles, interestingly enough. I think Waffles was kind of about me letting myself be a little pretentious and letting myself, critiquing pretentiousness while also allowing myself to kind of be a little bit pretentious and not completely goofy all the time, actually have something to say, which Vine Avenue, I had nothing to say, which is kind of the point of that movie. And I think Waffles was me allowing myself to say something a little bit while also critiquing people who always have to force meaning into their movies. So it's kind of this weird, funny meta thing. And then I think with Driftwood or The Seashell, it's a little bit about me allowing myself to publicly try to be profound or try to like say something interesting without a bunch of goofy shit. So it's like the transition from Waffles to Driftwood, I think there's kind of an interesting arc and progression there. I think Waffles is me kind of dipping my toe into that, and then Driftwood is me fully embracing just kind of like, yeah, I mean, I can make things that aren't incredibly goofy. There doesn't need to be like a little bit of a kind of a meaning dressed up in this like really goofy movie. I can make something that's just kind of beautiful and I can maybe try to be profound, even though that, I don't know, I think the second you try to be profound or meaningful is the second you really are opening yourself up to criticism that's going to hurt. And I think that with Waffles, I was kind of hiding behind that goofiness, like, oh, well, it's self-aware and it's really goofy, so you can't critique it because it knows what it is, and it's very true. But with Driftwood, I think it's me being more vulnerable. I think that's what it is. I think I'm being very vulnerable with Driftwood or The Seashell for the first time in a movie. So I think that's kind of maybe what it means to me a little bit. If you're ever concerned about whether your movie's good or bad, one piece of advice I can give you: just give yourself chills with your movie, and that's how you know. Because you'll never really have an eye for like, oh, this is good, this is bad. I mean, it's not something that's really, it's so subjective. But if you make a movie and the movie gives you chills, odds are somebody else will like it. That's the best piece of advice I can give as far as like realizing, understanding the quality of your own film. Does it give you chills? Then odds are somebody else will like it, or at least not completely shit all over it. That's usually my criteria. Okay, is this movie good? Do I like this movie? Oh, well, it gives me chills. So, okay, great. I think hopefully people will like it. So, yeah. Filmmaking. Got those people in frame. Well, that's kind of cool. Remember to walk off. Yeah, sorry. That was perfect though. Do the same thing. Actually, do you want to go stand over there and I'll throw it to you?
Sure.
Oh, I laughed. Sorry. You okay? I don't know why I laughed after I did it. I have to... One more time.
That was terrible. That was it was so bad. Now hopefully the camera was all nice and didn't fuck up.